CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.
We've got Helen Lash, Mayor of the Westland District. Helen, g'day. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming into us.
You're more than welcome, Andy. Nice to see you.
Helen, how's Hokitika today? I can see you're in your office there, I think. Are you in the Westland District building?
Yes, I am, and it's a bit of an overcast day and we have a bit of a wet front coming. So unfortunately, I think our good weather run is about to come to an end.
All right. Now, unfortunately, I am going to come home because I got told our weatherman yesterday said it might be a bit average on Saturday getting back across the pass. So, but I haven't had any civil defence emails yet, so hopefully it's not too bad. So that would be good.
It would be good. We have got an orange rain warning out, but that's as far as it is at this stage. It's nothing we can't handle. You know the coast.
I know, exactly. Now, Helen, I want to talk to you about this, this roading resilience, and particularly when we're talking about Jackson's Bay. There is quite an issue, and also it does segue very much into Karamea as well, so north of Westport, but you're the Mayor of the Westland District. This road from Haast down to Jackson's Bay is a council road, right? It's not a state highway. There is a share of funding. Now, there's a lot of discussions about this. This road, as we're here talking about an orange rain warning, it is probably one of the most fragile roads in Westland, right? It does get washed out quite often. It does take a lot of money to repair it. There is some talk from NZTA, from the government, that they're going to, withdraw or reduce the funding. What's going on here?
There's been talk, this is reviewed every 3 years, and the review happens, and we're always up against that potential of a reduction every 3 years. This time the conversation is a little bit different. There's conversations about removing it altogether. And that's the big concern. So the road into Karamea is much like the road down to Jackson's Bay. I think Karamea is 48 Ks, we're 42 Ks. The impact of having to maintain those roads per Buller or Westland Council sits at about 6% increase on rates or impact on rates if you take the events that we have as well, which for Westland, there's about an average of 1.5 mil cost per year of maintaining that road, mainly out of weather events. So it's significant.
Yeah, 1.5 million. Now that cost is borne by the ratepayers or shared with NZTA?
It's primary. Well, we're fortunate in that I would have to say it's covered by NZTA. We pay, they reimburse.
Yeah.
There is a percentage of work that we have to cover ourselves, but by and large, they cover the large percentage of those costs. The accountability within it is exactly what you'd expect. You've got to produce all the detail to be reimbursed, and that's how it should be as well, because that keeps things honest and very transparent. So
just to be clear, we're not talking about the normal day-to-day. The cost is not the normal day-to-day maintenance of a road. It's a tar sealed road, right? So we do our normal maintenance on the roads. It's basically the recovery, and it's the slip that happens, or multiple slips that happen on this road, primarily the last 4 or 5 Ks, right? Where all this cost, that's into Jackson's Bay, where all this cost gets incurred.
Yes, that's correct, Andy. It's that last sort of 4.8 Ks in there has been featuring significantly, in particular this last season, with slip after slip after slip, which has closed the road. The works go to reopen the road. There's been so much waste material. We've got consent from Dock and Regional Council that rubble gets moved into the sea, but not by waste. It's actually structuring a wider road, if you like, or giving a bit of leeway that there's a bit more room to manoeuvre with these events. But yeah, it's a very problematic area. It's a long stretch of road. Those roads into Jackson's Bay, of course, were built a long time ago, where they felled the trees, put the gravel over top, and that's how the roads ran before they sealed them. And the seal, when that came, just went over top of that waste material. And as that the timber has rotted down, etc., it's like riding a boat over the waves. You've sort of got that undulating presence all the way through. So, the rot carries on, and the impact on the road carries on. So it's historically created quite a considerable amount of work that's coming up soon on how we manage this going forward and that's too much for the ratepayers to bear.
So what happens then if this proposal from NZTA goes ahead? What is the option for the Western District?
Look, we could manage it through the normal FAR rate. That's the funding assistance rate. We could come to somewhat of agreement with NZTA, but it's still no different. It's still talking about the special purpose road, special purpose rate. So, you know, for that area down there, you know, we've got schools, we've got communities, we've got industry by way of fishing and tourism. We've got Maori reserves, heritage sites. You know, the list goes on and on. So the impact's significant, and the investment that's gone into that place from the turnoff from the State Highway down to the wharf at Jackson Bay is phenomenal. So how do we work this going forward? To me, we've got to sit down with the board of NZTA and talk to them or get them on site to actually see the areas so they understand what the decision impacts and potentially what the impact on the wider rate-paying base would be, and work with us to find a solution going forward. There's got to be a middle road somewhere that's tenable to NZTA, their funding, and also the survival of those that have invested in those areas.
Is it possible that the funding or the requirement of funding, particularly with the slips and with the storm damage down there, that makes the road non-viable? Is that, I mean, you're talking about writing off a community of Jackson's Bay effectively, aren't you, if that's the case?
That is the case. And, you know, you've got people that live there permanently. You've got a lot of people with holiday homes there. You know, through the summer period, and when I say summer period, I'm talking, you know, Labour weekend, pre-Labour weekend in October, right through to now. It's nothing to have up to 120 odd boats and trailers there that have come from Southland. And there's a lot of those people now investing in holiday homes in Haast to go and enjoy what's on offer in the fishing reservoir that's there. So, you know, the impact is extensive, and you're taking away people's rights to live it's not so much where they choose to live. People have got to understand that, you know, if you live 50 k's away and you're the only place down that property, you can't expect that maintenance to be carried out in all perpetuity. But we're talking history, we're talking heritage, we're talking investments across a diverse range. And you can't just say, no, that's it, we've had enough, no more. You've got to find a way to work through this.
So I guess the reason why I'm highlighting this, and we've talked about Karamea, but this would impact right across New Zealand. I'm sure this decision from NZTA is not just focusing on Westland and Bulla, right? This issue is going to come up, or will be being faced by councils all around the country now?
Correct, Andy. I mean, even, you know, up around that Potiki region, it's an SPR, and that's quite an extensive one. So you've got communities that are going to be impacted by that. So, you know, those sort of places become places where you can't sustain those communities that currently live there. So what do you do? What do you offer them? Because basically, if you take the funding away, you're actually rendering their asset an element of worthless. You know, and I don't think we've got the right to do that. You know, it's not a matter of saying, look, here's the funding, we're going to take this from, say, 70% down to 65 or 65 to 60, and because the next time it'll be down to 55 and 50. And councils will then have to say, well, we have to keep this open, we have to fund this, so what are we going to take out? So we'll take out those roads that have less habitation on them. And eventually you'll run out of those that you can remove as well to ensure the funding for these places stays there. It's not tenable, and we've got to find a better way of managing this, because I think there's, 3 in the North Island, SPRs, and some of those actually feed 4 or 5 communities. So we've got to look at this as a big picture and find what is common ground to have a future.
So funding mechanisms via ratepayers and small communities. What's the ratepayer base of Westland?
Not very high. We've got a population just shy of 10,000, but we've got a rate-paying base of shy of 4,000.
Yeah, so, you know, it is a big imposition, and particularly on the ratepayers. And you said if this was fully funded by the ratepayers. What, 6% increase in rates? That's that's not. I'm not happy with that, to be honest. Being a ratepayer in Westland, but you know.
And this is the thing, last year for the elections, we didn't succumb to the pressure of dropping the rates down for voting. We kept it. We've had a goal. We kept the rates there. We've got this focus to work them down towards the stage when the rates capping comes in, and suddenly we have this come on the horizon. How do we manage that? Because we've got our rates down to sort of 6.2% this year, looking at going down next year again. This suddenly takes us up to 12.
Yeah.
And that 6% is not something that we can reduce unless we remove.
So just before we finish, where are we at right now? You are still in discussions with NZTA. What's the current state of play? It's a proposal at the moment, right? Is that where it's at?
It's a proposal and it's open for discussion. I went down to Haast night before last and had a meeting with primarily the Jackson Bay community first and foremost. Before we have a wider discussion with the whole community down there. They know that I'm advocating for them exceptionally hard. I've asked them for all their information, their investments, their plans, their future, the data on international versus domestic visitation, etc. So I'm armed with that information. I would like the board to come down and view the place so they actually then can make an informed decision. But I'd like to sit down with them and work through and sort of say, how do we manage this going forward? Because it's not just here, it's the road into Karamea and it's the SPRs in North Island. But I will be advocating very, very hard on this.
Yeah, and it is, as I said, it is an issue, as you've just rightly pointed out, it is an issue that is going to be nationwide, and they will be doing more and more on this. The other thing that we didn't mention, and you mentioned it to me earlier, was that also Jackson's Bay is the only proper deep water port on the west coast, right? So for resilience, for when AF8 goes, I know it's right at the end of the road, but it is a place where we can bring in big ships for recovery from Aussie.
That's absolutely correct, Andy, and that's one of my other key drivers, because at some stage the AF8 will happen. We know that. And, the Australian Navy can't anchor off Grey or Westport or Hokitika. They need that safe harbourage, and that's where they'll get it. They can helicopter out from there. That's not a problem. But they need that safe harbourage to be able to transfer and do everything else.
Yep, all right.
We take this away, it closes the door on that potentially as well.
Well, keep fighting the good fight, Helen. We'll keep an eye on it because it is a nationwide issue. I know we're focusing on Westland, but Westland and Bulla with the Karamea and Haast and Jackson's Bay is a real flashpoint, a focal point. So we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks very much. And see, I've resisted the temptation to talk to you about local government reform as well.
And I thank you for that, Andy. I thank you for that immensely.
Don't worry, I was tempted. Right. Hey, Helen, Mayor Lash from Westland District Council. Really appreciate your time. We'll talk again.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.